I'm not supposed to take your leave. I'm just supposed to come and do my duty. But because you are Khalilullah and you are the friend of Allah, the Prophet, I have been told to pay my due respect to you. Hazrat Ibrahim said, but you know that I'm Khalilullah. Khalil means intimate friend, of course. Have you ever heard, O Malakul Maut, a friend killing a friend? So Malakul Maut realized that there is some hesitation and reluctance. I mean, this doesn't apply to me and you, huh? It doesn't apply to us at all. It applies to Nabi. So he just prayed and said, Ya Allah, you have heard what Ibrahim said. I don't have to comment. But it seems that he is reluctant. He says, have you ever heard of a friend kill a friend? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ibrahim thinks that I am killing him. Malakul Maut, tell him, have you ever seen a friend trying to run away from visiting a friend? Just tell him that much. If a visit is arranged between two friends, will you see a friend trying to run away from it? So Malakul Maut came and said, Ya Ibrahim, the answer to what you said is this. Have you ever seen a friend refusing to visit a friend? When Hazrat Ibrahim heard it, he said, Malak, I am prepared to go. It all depends upon how you view death. According to those who think it is just destruction, it is destruction. Those who know that it is visiting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a friend, then they go there with willingness. This is the difference between the attitude. Fine. So when the time comes, the mu'min is shown his darajat in Jannah, his attainments in heaven. And he's shown that if you come, these are the places. If you want to live, the earth is for you. And it is at that time that mu'min decides that I want to go, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for all of us who weep and cry, we weep and cry because of love. We weep over the departed because of our love. That is not something bad. Remember, don't try to misunderstand me. We all weep over the departed soul, our friends, our parents, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters. We weep because of our love that now in this society we shall no more see him or her. But the dying mu'min, Payghambar says that he tells all those who weep, do not cry but think of yourselves. For you are going to follow in my wake very soon. But for me, I can tell you that I am happier here than I was on earth. I am happier here than I was on earth. When I sleep, I don't know what happens. Fuqaha have said that sleeping makes wuzu batil. You know what they have described sleeping as? Sleeping in the majlis. You know what is sleeping in the... Nobody sleeps in the majlis the way he sleeps on bed. He just dozes. A few words here and there of Mulla are lost. And the second moment he regains consciousness, he has slept. His wuzu is batil. There is no doubt about that. A little bit of istighraq and the whole thing goes. So, when we sleep, the senses don't work because it is a temporary departure of nafs and Allah wants to send it back. But when we die, the body does not at that moment feel, but the ruh and the soul feels everything. Everything. That is the difference. So much so that a person who gives ghusl is told by the Prophet that give ghusl slowly and gently. Don't mishandle and don't handle the body of a dead person roughly. Because the ruh looks at it, and if he sees or she sees rough handling, it says, "O people who are giving ghusl, give it gently, for we have just parted and you do not know the torture that we have experienced as the body parts permanently from the soul. You don't know the pain we have undergone. You don't know the experience we have had. Please treat this body gently." And that ruh accompanies up to the grave, goes together with janaza. And when the grave is there, or whatever has happened to the dead person, say he's being drowning and his ruh goes away with malaika, at that particular moment it departs for 3 days and not before that. Not only that, but the continuity of life, the Prophet said, is so much that the elderlies who have died come to the house of the children. My father has died. My grandfather has died. They do visit. The Prophet said the mu'mineen are allowed to visit their children and the family to see how they live. And if they see that the life has changed, in the house where there was namaz, there is no more namaz. In the house where there was Quran, there is no more Quran. In the house where there was no fisq and no fujur, no transgression, everything has entered in. They weep. They say, "Oh my children, my death was a lesson to you. Did you think you are going to live on earth forever? That you have forgotten all the lessons? You are going to follow the same way?" The Prophet said this, that remember, especially on Thursdays and Fridays, the ruh and spirits of the mu'mineen are allowed to visit their friends and also their families. May Allah not bring that day that my father's spirit comes in my house, his soul, and sees me, namaz subuh going, sees me. There was a time when we had to travel to do a sin. I'm an old man now, so that's why I talk of times. Those of you who are my age but look younger are really very lucky. But with the burden that I have grown older soon. I'm very old. Older than I should be. I have lived with the older people, so I know many things, which normally even my contemporaries would not know. I say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Salawat Muhammad wa alihi. What was I talking about? What was I talking about?
To travel for the sin.
Yes, we had to travel for the sin. We had to travel for the sins. You know what I mean? The friend would come and say, "Yeah, आज रात न छे ने छांबा में 4 माइल दूर एक म्यूजिक पार्टी से जाऊं." 4 miles away in a shamba, so that no one knows about it. जाऊं छे. So we tell at home, "I'm going to shamba." Bas, that's all, half truth. And the parents know that the children go to shamba. Half truth. We go there and there's a music party. Some qawwalis have come and musicians have come. We spend the night, have early breakfast in the morning, namaz also. See? And then rush back home. Shamba. Kaun kaun hai tu? So you name all the friends. You know that they will also not say at home what has happened. Fine. The parents are satisfied that he speaks truth. There's no lie. We had to travel 4 miles, 6 miles away. There was a time in a society where those who visited picture houses were actually blemished. To cinema jaish? And those who went would never say that they went. And I know of good friends who went when the lights were switched off in the picture house. Enter when the lights are off. And get out before they are switched on, so that nobody sees them. This was how it was. We had to make an effort to commit a sin. Shaitan alayhi la'na wal adhab, Iblis, the devil, he contrived a way so that you don't need traveling. He said, "Up to now I have been asking you to come to me. I am now coming to your own houses. So in a television box, it is our guest." A devil is a permanent guest in our house. Shaitan is the permanent guest in our houses. In that particular tube, or call it TV already. Now, anything can be used for any good purpose. You can take a knife to cut a fruit. You can take a knife to use for a kitchen. You can take a knife for any innocent and innocuous use. You can take a knife and also kill someone. You can take a television and have documentary or educational things, films being shown to you for your own education. You can take the TV for news broadcast, for news summary, or whatever it be. But that TV, 90% of it has got a different purpose. 10% is for those innocuous, innocent programs. 90% of it is brainwashing through the media. We know it. Telling us in a subtle way how a woman and man can live without getting married. How a child can answer back to the father and mother saying that she is or he is independent and that mind your own business. How they can pass adverse remarks against religion. How can they make a mockery of life after death? All these things, although I'm going to discuss next Friday inshallah on life after death according to the modern scientists. But today is not my subject. But I'm going to tell you exactly how these things are conveyed to the minds of the younger generation. The devil has come at home, and I don't know what is happening to the ruh of my father or my grandfather when it enters the house and says, oh, for the first time it might think that the house has changed into a cinema house. And it will take time for it to realize that the house is not a cinema house, but there is a small cinema already in a corner. There is no more any need to travel to go to picture house, the picture house in the house. There is no need to travel to the music party and hide yourself. The music party is in the house. So, we are living in an era where unless we do not control our own selves, we cannot survive. And the amal which we do, however distasteful it is, when the music in the house is not allowed, it is distasteful to young people. Mulla said haram. Now look, we are even allowed to hear at good voices. It's haram. When it is stopped, when such programs are being monitored which the children should not see, and if they see, there should be children of the age who can understand and discern, not those children who will be misled. There are certain programs which cannot be seen with father, mother, daughter and son sit together unless there is no haya and no ghaira. If you put a stop to this, it will be distasteful, it will be unpalatable, it will not be liked. But the amal which we don't like will help us when we go from here, and we do not know when we are going to be called and go. Now, before I conclude, imagine a person dying while he is reading Quran. Imagine a person dying when he is in sajda. Imagine a person dying when he is serving someone. Serving, only serving. Even those who will come just now with tea and niyaz, I don't know how much respect they have in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the moments which they spend in service of others. Although it is very simple, we must respect them. But if a person dies while serving, if a person dies while doing a good turn, he dies a shaheed. A person dying doing business, halal, not moja kombili, halal, halal, for the sake of his family and children, he dies shaheed. A clerical clerk who works at the desk so that he may get a packet and feed his children and dies a shaheed. A person, a woman, as a wife at home, works for the children who come home to have food and for the husband. She dies in that state, she dies a shaheed. All these things are ways of dying. But there is a person who dies while he is watching TV. I leave it up to you to imagine. Looking at those actresses and actors and قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. No time even for saying أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. Just looks at that. While he looks at his own film together with that. We don't know. We see that he is looking at that particular screen. Allah says at that last moment, no screen is there, it is his own screen before him. And he dies. Dies while in a party. Satya peace. Gamble. Or one-armed bandit. And he dies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Or drunk, boozed. All these things take us to think. May Allah give us that death which is honorable and graceful in His eye.